What is up guys, Jay Blanks here from Blanks Gaming coming at you with another Monster Hunter video. And today we'll be going over a brief explanation of elemental damage as well as inflicting status ailments on a monster. And the reason I'm coming out with this is because when I first started playing Monster Hunter, I did not know that much about it. And I thought, why not come out with a video that might help people out who are curious about the same subject. So having said all that, if you guys learned something today, feel free to drop a like and feel free to subscribe because it really does help the channel out. And let's begin the video. Alright, so the first thing we want to go over is elemental damage. Now there are 5 different types of elemental damage, which are fire, water, ice, thunder, and dragon. And elemental damage is pretty simple to understand. And for this example, we are going to use the Corona, which is the shield and sword made by Rathalos. Elemental damage works like bonus damage on top of your actual weapon damage. And this bonus damage is based off of the elemental damage on your weapon as well as the elemental resistance of the monster. As you can see here, Paolumu is weakest against fire, so that is why we are using this sword to deal the maximum bonus damage. If I used water, then it would deal 0 bonus damage because as you can see, he is resistant to water. The next thing we want to go over are the different status damage and ailments you can inflict on a monster, and these are sleep, paralysis, poison, blast, and stun. And I want to go over each one of these because they are a little different from each other and they are different from elemental damage. So the reason these are different is because status ailments are inflicted by constantly attacking the monster, and each attack has a certain percentage of dealing the status damage. And as this status damage builds up, it reaches a certain amount, finally activating the status effect. For example, paralysis. After a certain amount of status damage, it will inflict paralysis, making them immobilized. And there are skills that will speed up this process. As you can see, each level can increase the build-up percentage. The first status we'll be going over is the sleep status using the shield and sword made by Radabon. Now the way sleep works, as we said before, it's constantly attacking the target and eventually the sleep status will build up, causing the monster to fall asleep. As you can see here, the Great Jagras has fallen asleep, and the cool thing about this status is that you can take advantage of the bonus wake up damage that comes from the very first attack, waking the monster up. And of course you want to use your most powerful move for that to deal the most amount of damage. The second status we'll be going over is the paralysis status, and this is probably my favorite one out of the 5. And this will be done using the shield and sword made by the Great Gyros. You can tell that the status damage is being inflicted by the sparks that come up from each hit of your sword, and eventually it'll build up, break the threshold, and paralyze the monster. This immobilizes them for a certain amount of time, allowing you to attack them freely, which is why this is my favorite status ailment. This next one is poison status, dealt by the shield and sword made by the Puke Puke, and you can tell that the status damage is being dealt by the purple clouds after each hit, and you know the monster is poisoned when you see the purple saliva dripping from their mouth as well as the constant numbers popping up, which is the poison damage. Moving on to inflicting blast status. Now this one I want to go over a little more in depth because of the type of weapon I'll be using. This is the shield and sword made by the Paolumu, and as you can see, the elemental damage is grayed out and has parentheses. This means that it's a hidden element, and in order to unlock it, you need the skill free element, which unlocks a certain percentage of the skill based on its level. And since mine was level 1, it will only unlock 90 of the 270. And you can tell this is being inflicted by the sparks that come from each hit, and eventually it builds up into an explosion, dealing a certain amount of damage to the monster. Now the last status we want to go over is the stun or KO status, and this won't be found under the element of a weapon. and instead it's done by dealing enough blunt damage to a monster's head, causing them to be knocked out, which is signaled by the floating stars, and this immobilizes the monster, allowing you and your team to deal a massive amount of damage. And on a side note, like I showed you for the paralysis status, there are skills on armors that allow you to amplify the elemental damage as well as increase the build-up speed or percentage of each of these status ailments, allowing you to inflict them a lot faster or do a lot more damage on a monster. That pretty much wraps up my video on elemental damage and status ailments. It was very quick. I just wanted to go over some of the basics with you guys. So I hope it helped you guys out, and if it did, feel free to drop a like and feel free to subscribe. Like I said before, it really does help the channel out, and I really do appreciate all of the support. And having said all that, this is Jay Blanks from Blanks Gaming, and I'll see you guys next time.